Greetings and salutations, travelers of the internet. Welcome to the Lit Round Table. I'm Anna.
And I'm Joseph, and we'll be your wise or not so wise mentors for today's audio adventure into all things storytelling. And today, on this wonderful episode 18 of the Lit Round Table, we get to talk about a topic that I'm excited about, that I'll be leading the discussion on, and that is pirates.
Yes, those romanticized scoundrels.
Yes, the rogues of the sea.
Yes.
And how they're portrayed in modern media compared to their historical counterparts. Whether or not it's appropriate or justified, we'll see. So,
yeah, should be a good
I'm
discussion.
excited. But for now, we'll start off with what we normally start with what are we reading, watching, playing, all that. So go ahead and start us off, Anna.
Yeah. So I have been reading, obviously, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and if you can't tell, I'm trying to rack my brain on what else I've read since the last time we recorded. I don't think I have anything new to report for reading, which is kind of wild. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I guess I started reading the My Hero Academia School Briefs, Volume 1, which is just like a novelization. But it's not like a novelization of existing stories. It's like extra, but written like a novel instead of a graphic novel. So
Cool.
Yeah, I've been desperately trying to get my roommate from college, actually back up. Delete some of that.
Oh, okay.
I've been desperately trying to get some hand quilting done before a trip I have coming up. So I've been doing a lot more like watching shows while hand quilting instead of reading. So I guess that's probably why I can't think of a bunch of books that I've been reading. But
Fair.
So for watching, I started watching She-Ra on Netflix, which has been fun because Noelle Stevenson, who is a producer on that show, used to have a Tumblr blog that I followed, and she did Lord of the Rings comic things that were very funny. So it's funny because I used to follow her before she had published Nimona and before She-Ra became a thing, and so it's kind of cool to be like, oh, wow. I don't know this person, but I feel like I know this person.
Nice.
And her style is very, very much the same, so that's kind of cool. I also have been watching like some baking shows, so because they're good quilting shows.
Yeah.
So
Get the creative juices flowing.
yeah, for sure. So not a lot to report on my end this time.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Well, for me, for reading, I have started reading the third book in the Wheel of Time series, which is called The Dragon Reborn.
Nice.
And I'm intrigued with how it has started. Not in a bad way. I wasn't expecting it to do what it's doing, I think. But I'm kind of here for it. Like, it's kind of pulling away from the main person being a POV. And the supporting cast is trying to find. It's kind of like The Force Awakens, where they're like trying to find Luke Skywalker.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I'm wondering how long that'll be, and if that's going to be like most of the book, or I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting.
But yeah, I'm enjoying that so far. Also, I started reading a book that was recommended by a mutual friend, Monica, which is called The House on the Cerulean Sea, which is
Who's the author on that?
I only wrote the title down on my list.
Okay, I'll look it up. I just asked because the title sounds familiar, so I was wondering if the author would like put the pieces together for me. But.
I think it's popular right now. I think it might be on Book Talk.
Okay.
The lovely cashier at Barnes & Noble, when I was checking it out, she was like, "Oh, this book's really good." And I was like, "Oh, thanks. Well, it was recommended, so I hope I like it." She's like, "Yeah, I loved it." Cool.
Awesome.
So we'll see. I've only read the first chapter, but it seems like an interesting premise. It's like I'm getting Good Omens vibes. It's like magical but modern setting, and it's got some like apocalyptic themes also with these magical kids. So yeah, we'll see.
Cool.
It'll be interesting. Also, I started reading again the first book in the Witcher series. I started that
Oh,
over. So I've got like a couple things
look at
right now. And
you.
also there's just the Dragons of Autumn Twilight. Well, so the thing is, with two of those, with Dragons of Autumn Twilight and The Dragon Reborn, I have the audiobooks on Audible, so I can like listen to them as I go to work and stuff, and
Sure.
drive home from work. So those are like my car books, and then those other two are like if I'm at home and I'm like I want to read, then I'll read those. So
Nice.
yeah,
You're it's like we've switched places.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Which is
Now I have
fine.
a long drive to work, so I can like listen to things. For watching, in the span of time between our last recording and now, I have watched all of Tokyo Ghoul
Wow.
on Funimation.
Okay. Did you watch that in English or
I
subtitles?
watched it subbed,
Okay.
so it was in Japanese,
Okay.
but it was good. The ending was actually happier than I thought we would get.
So it's a
So,
completed anime.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. There were moments where I thought it was there was like some time jumps, and there were times where I was like, I feel like we're kind of like rushing a little bit, but it was okay. It wasn't too distracting, but it was good. And after that, I started Black Clover. All of that when I'm watching an English
Oh,
dubbed because
the
the
Japanese voice actor's super annoying.
yeah the
For the main
Japanese
character.
yeah the main character's Japanese voice actor is very very loud and very obnoxious, which I get. It's like the character, like
It is totally the character.
that is what the director wanted, and that's
Yeah.
what we get. But the English is at least a little. It just feels like someone's screaming at me while I'm also trying to read what they're saying. So if it's in English, they're still screaming, but at least I don't have to like read a translation of what they're screaming. So
Totally.
it's better for
Yeah.
me.
I guess I have started that show. But I forgot that I can watch it in English. Maybe I'll do some of that.
Yeah.
While thing.
Yeah. And we are now all caught up on Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah.
So once season 4 part 2 drops, we can all watch them as they air. And yeah, that'll be good. That starts in January, so we're all caught up on that. And then the next show that we're going to start watching on anime nights is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that one is a completed one. So that'll be really good. I'm excited about that. So
Yeah.
yeah. And for things that I'm playing, I haven't really made any more progress in Fallout 4. I don't know. I haven't really played a lot of games lately, but we are also still playing our One Ring RPG. So
Yes.
yeah. So that's kind of the lowdown of what I've been up to anyway, and you. So
Yeah. My character in our RPG is like very almost dead.
you got knocked out a lot.
I did.
Well, you started like a really big fight with not a ton of health left, and then
Yeah.
the person that we thought was going to heal you decided to fight instead.
She forgot.
Yeah. Forgot
Which
that was
ended
the
up
thing.
being fine.
You guys still won, and you're not dead, but
No.
you're
Nearly dead.
unconscious on the ground.
I feel like I should go to Miracle Max's.
Yeah.
And get
You're
a
only mostly
chocolate.
dead.
Yes, yes.
Speaking of Princess Bride and the Dread Pirate Roberts, let's talk about
Yes. What a segue. What an accidental
Piracy.
segue. Yeah, I'm here for it.
piracy. So, I just want to go through some kind of like the stance of where things are as far as pirates are concerned in like pop culture. So, what are some really popular fictitious pirates you can name off the top of your head?
Oh, okay. Sorry, my brain was just thinking about. You remember those old like ads that used to run? Maybe they still run in front of some DVDs that were like, "You wouldn't steal from your mom." Blah 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 blah.
You wouldn't steal a car.
Right?
Stealing pirated films is a crime.
Yeah. So modern pirates exist, but that's not what we're talking about today.
Also, if you live near where there's Somali pirates,
Oh.
you know, they'll
Yeah.
just there are still pirates. They've evolved.
Right, they're different now.
Yeah, and there's
So-
not as many.
So we're talking about like the classic version of
Right.
pirates that are romanticized.
Right.
media.
I'm talking about the
Captain Jack Sparrows and Blackbeard and Davy Jones. I'm trying. Was Barbossa an actual pirate?
I think there was a pirate named Barbossa, but it's not the same. Like,
Long John Silver.
we
Who
mentioned the
else?
Dread
Captain
Pirate.
Blood, Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch that I'm not
So
even thinking of.
there's one that you missed.
Which one did I miss?
It's Captain Hook,
Oh, yeah. Sorry, he's
The
in like
Disney-
a different category.
the Disney pirate.
I know he's a pirate, but I don't think of him as like, I don't know.
He almost seems like pretty harmless, compared to
In comparison, yes.
yeah. So the pirates, the popular pirates in fiction I had listed were Captain Hook, Long John Silver, and in association with him also Captain Flint. They're both in Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Captain Jack Sparrow with Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and the Dread Pirate Roberts with Princess Bride. There are more, but those are what I listed. And there's also pirate-centric video games like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Sea of Thieves. There have been some Pirates of the Caribbean video games too. There's been TV shows like Black Sails, which is a prequel to Treasure Island, which is good that I own that series. So there's a lot of different popular, like pirates are still pretty prevalent in pop culture.
I would say that Black Sails, maybe you'll touch on this, but it does a good job of portraying pirates as the scum that they are.
Yeah, like they're very.
They're still the protagonists, but even when they're like doing the quote unquote good thing, it's pretty bad most of the time.
Yeah. There's definitely a spectrum of morality when it comes to the pirates, especially some of the historical pirates that we'll talk about later on. There's a wide range of morality between these historical figures, because some of them were actually sponsored by their governments.
Right.
So it's interesting. We'll get into it, but so that's some kind of pop culture pirates, and there's also a lot of pirates in branding now. Like there's like Captain Morgan Rum, and there's Captain Crook, who is a McDonald's character.
I thought you were gonna say Captain Crunch.
There's Captain Crunch.
I don't think he's a pirate. I think he's an admiral.
Yeah. I always thought that he was a pirate, though.
I don't think he is, though.
No, you're right. But I think, you see someone with the word captain, and I don't know, you're a kid, you think, oh, he's a pirate, yay.
Right. Yeah, totally. Ooh, we haven't mentioned the Veggietale Pirates. We
haven't yet. That's another thing. There's in Veggietales, there's the pirates who don't do anything.
Yeah.
Which are just lazy oafs. So there's also... like pirate branding, there's also a lot of sports teams that have taken on piratey themes, like the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Oakland Raiders, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yep.
There's a lot of common piratey imagery in marketing and pop culture stuff. So what do you think are the stereotypical pirate imagery or pirate tropes that are the most prevalent today? Like when someone says the word pirate, what's the first image that you kind of get in your mind?
Johnny Depp is Jack Sparrow.
That's fair.
Kind of dirty.
Yeah, kind of dirty.
Kind of attractive. Confusing.
Yeah. So, I know it's very European centric.
Yes.
A lot of white dudes sailing around in the Caribbean specifically, where there's like islands. Yeah, where there's islands and stuff, looking for buried treasure, sinking ships that have treasure on them. It's all about like treasure hunting and stuff, and they're definitely romanticized. So actual pirates weren't so whimsical. I mean, there were some that were very wealthy and were very good at acquiring treasure, or whatever it is they wanted to do. That's kind of their thing, where they were usually like anti-establishment unless they were kind of a part of the establishment as privateers. Kind of very independent. It was kind of, they had the freedom to do whatever they wanted to on the open ocean. It was harder to patrol back then with the technology where it was. So if you got your hands on a ship and a crew that was willing to do what you said and was had like shaky morality, you could just kind of live your life however you wanted to. You could go hunt down other ships and all this stuff. But so you were a criminal. You were basically just a highway thief, only instead of a highway, you were on the open ocean, robbing from rich merchants or military vessels or whatever. So it's interesting, though, when I was researching how the romanticization of pirates started, it started like when they were still doing their thing.
Sure.
Like, people have always been fascinated by pirates since 1684. So 1684 is when Alexander Exquemelin, I don't know if that's a really weird last name, he first published the book Buccaneers of America. And he had actually met pirates in real life. He wrote this book that was kind of like an account of different pirates in the Americas, and that book sold really well and was very successful for its time. And so that kind of began the fascination that the general public had with these pirates. In 1724, a man named Captain Charles Johnson published A General History of the Robbers and Murders of the Most Notorious Pirates. And that one is still one of the most popular books of all time. And most of the history we have of famous pirates is based on information that we have from that book. He actually, it's believed that Charles Johnson was actually Daniel Defoe, who was the author of Robinson Crusoe, who was publishing that under a pseudonym because of legal issues that he had with England at the time. So that's just a little tidbit.
Okay. I don't know why that's so funny to me, just the idea of an author having issues with England.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have issues with England.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially at that time.
Especially during peak colonization, peak British Empire.
Yeah.
And yeah, the golden age of piracy was between 1640 and 1730. So, looking at the dates for those, that first book was 1684, that second book was 1724. Those were both written and published during peak pirate times, and they sold really well. So people were really fascinated with this lifestyle and romanticized it.
I guess that doesn't surprise me too much because the way that it's romanticized is like these people that get to go out and do pretty much whatever they want out on the open sea, and they're not being constrained by like you said, the colonization that was happening at that time, and they're, as Americans, we're pretty determined to find freedom wherever we can get it. So it doesn't really surprise me.
Especially, like modern times, pirates are kind of idolized because people, especially in America, a country that was founded on rebelling against higher authority, we love a rebel, Yeah. And that's one of the first things I wrote down for why is piracy romanticized, and the first thing I wrote down was people love a rebel. And also, some people, as I was looking at like some message boards online and everything, I wish I could just pull up the specific quote from this person, or have their username, but it was on Quora, I think, and this person was talking about how they kind of view them, certain pirates, not all pirates, but certain pirates, in more of like a Robin Hood lens, because they, thinking about the time period, the powers that be were pretty corrupt. And they saw it as more of like, I'm not going to be a part of that, but I grew up as a sailor, so I still want to sail, but I'm not going to be a part of your system or your military or whatever. I'm going to do my own thing. And also, I kind of hate you because I was jilted by you earlier in life, so I'm going to steal from you. So it's like kind of the Captain Blood route,
Exactly. I was just going to say, this is very similar to our morally gray characters discussion.
Yeah. And looking at historically, it's interesting, especially when you look at like British pirates, because the British Navy didn't exist for a little bit. It was just privateers that were kind of hired by England to mess with Spain. And so the British got really, really good at stealing other people's ships because that's how they had their navy, was these privateers would steal ships from like the Spanish and whatnot. And so you have these sailors that have gotten these skills acquired of like stealing ships, and then they get fed up with the English government and they're like, I'm going to do my own thing. And then they start stealing ships.
Right. Because they've been practicing this skill.
Yeah.
On a payroll.
It's like, who'd have thought? Who'd have thought that would happen?
Yeah.
And the ships that they're trying to steal now are way easier to steal because they're not military vessels. They're just merchant vessels that don't have a lot of cannons and are loaded with goods that they can sell at different ports and stuff. So, so yeah, I totally get how piracy became a thing and why they've romanticized it so much. Again, very individualistic, anti-establishment. It's also a very survival of the fittest lifestyle. Like some lived by a certain code of conduct, but it was still pretty Darwinian, like,
sure.
If I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to fight you. And
whoever's strongest will win.
Yeah, and usually the weaker one will be killed. So it's very like dog eat dog kind of lifestyle, but appealing to some. So I can understand that as well.
Well, and even if you think about like the illnesses that would have been around at the time and prevalent on ships like that, you have the same kind of survival of the fittest thing happening there as well. If you have a weak immune system, you're probably not going to survive very long.
Right. You'll get scurvy. Yeah.
Or whatever other disease is rampant on pirate ships.
Yeah. Not a lot of hygiene there.
No.
Also, this is something interesting that I discovered while I was looking this up. It kind of plays into more modern, how we romanticize it in the modern day. Do you know what the British Rake is? It's a kind of a character archetype.
How do you spell that? Like
R-A-K-E. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, like a rake is a scoundrel. Is that what you're referring to?
Right.
Okay.
So it's kind of a character archetype of someone who wastes their potential to lead an immoral lifestyle. Usually it's a male, and they'll go off and live a life of kind of hedonistic tendencies, booze, women, money, whatever. So this was a character archetype. It kind of fell to the wayside a little bit, but then the Rolling Stones kind of brought it back.
Okay.
And the Rolling Stones...
This is a turn I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, no, I know. The Rolling Stones were kind of considered to have brought back the British Rake, and people kind of idolized the behavior. And Jack Sparrow is heavily inspired by the lead guitarist of the Rolling Stones, like the personality and mannerisms and stuff. So, like, pirates have become...
Didn't they get him to come and play Jack's dad? Or is that somebody else?
I think so. I think that was him.
Keith something?
Keith Richards.
Yes. Thank you.
I think that's the name. Yeah, so that's someone that Jack Sparrow was based on, like the mannerisms and the appearance and whatever. So it's just interesting how it's like the whole scoundrel thing. People love a rogue, and it was just interesting to me to see the history of that kind of behavior that some people wouldn't have or would have frowned on, and how it just flips and becomes a lifestyle that everybody wants to have. Like everybody wants to be Jack Sparrow and just do whatever they want, But
yeah, until they're sailing their ship into a harbor and literally walking off of it as it goes completely under.
Yep. Then you're just Mr. Smith. Welcome to Port Royal, Mr. Smith.
Yes.
It's one of the best pirate entrances of all time.
So good. I love it so much.
So that's kind of where things sit now with how piracy is romanticized and kind of why. Is there anything else you can think of as to why it's romanticized? You think we kind of covered a good swath?
Why it's romanticized right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we covered it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Okay.
But
Yeah, because next I've got a wonderful list of historical pirates.
I would love to hear all about historical pirates.
That we can go through. And you'll see there's, like I said before, there's a wide spectrum of morality, and it'll be interesting to go through. Okay. So first, just for the historical context, there are some that are just straight up pirates who do what they want. There are some that are privateers who actually work for their governments, whether it's the king, queen, whatever, of Spain, England, wherever, and they basically work to undermine other governments. They're like state-sponsored pirates. It'd be like if America sponsored a gang, you know, to like
Sure.
to like mess with other countries that they're at war with. So that's kind
Yeah.
of what it's like.
I'm thinking of how many times Errol Flynn played a role like this. Like he played obviously Captain Blood, but also in the Seahawk, his character is a privateer for Queen Elizabeth, and kind of has a similar trajectory. And then in the Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex, again, he's the Earl of Essex in that movie, but kind of the same
It's
same
interesting.
time period, same genre of character.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting because the Seahawk is actually fairly historically accurate with like not like the exact events of the film, but like the overall historical setting is very accurate with like where England was and where Spain was at the time. So
yeah.
so yeah, the
Also
first
a great movie, just in general. If you're looking for like an old movie,
if you want like a golden age of
it's
Hollywood,
swashbuckly.
yeah,
It's a great movie.
go check out the Seahawk. Great music.
Oh, so good.
All right. So the first one on our list is pretty well known. A man by the name of William Kidd. This is Captain Kidd.
Okay.
I feel like people have heard of Captain Kidd.
I feel like I've probably heard of all of these because we used to have that game, Pirates, where like a lot of the character cards were based on real pirates.
Right.
But
That's another thing
I'm very rusty.
we can mention is that we've been longtime pirate fans for like since we were children. We've always been interested in pirates. We had this board game we played called Pirates of the Spanish Main. You can Google it if you want, but it's very fun. Anyway, William Kidd was a Scottish man. He started his sailing career as a privateer, and he was actually trying to get rid of pirates, although he reluctantly became a pirate captain at the request of his crew. His crew asked him to, or voted for him to become their pirate captain, and he reluctantly agreed. He
A reluctant
was,
hero.
yeah, the reluctant rogue. Famously, he buried a portion of his treasure on the what's it called, on Gardiner's Island, as a bargaining tool if he was ever captured. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out that well because he was still captured and executed in England. But that's kind of where the whole trope of like buried treasure started.
I don't think that was actually that common though.
No, it wasn't. He was the only one that I could find. There may have been some, but he was the only one that I could really find that actually had buried treasure, that he hid for the future. So I thought that was interesting. As far as morality goes, again, he started off with good intentions and was a privateer. He worked for his government, and then his crew kind of strong-armed him into doing it. So, I mean, eventually he probably just kept doing it because it paid well, but, it's just kind of interesting. And to contrast that, the next one we have is Edward Teach. Do you know who Edward Teach is?
Did he have a different name? A different pirate name?
He's got a nickname, yeah.
What's the nickname?
Blackbeard.
Okay, yes. It's like the name kind of sounds familiar, but not like that familiar. But Blackbeard, yes.
Yeah, I was curious if you would know. Blackbeard.
I knew that he had a different name. So
yeah.
I should get half a point for that.
Blackbeard is one of the most famous pirates in history. Like
Yeah.
if you ask someone, hey, name any historical pirate. Blackbeard. Yeah. Okay.
I think he was in my original list.
He was. Yeah, you did mention him. Very well known and widely feared in his time. He commanded 4 ships and 300 men at the peak of his pirating career. He was famous for entwining fuses into his beard and hair and lighting them, which would emit smoke and flaming embers that gave him a more demonic appearance.
So the Disney movie got it kind of right.
We'll talk about that.
Okay. I'm kind of poking the bear on purpose.
The overall look, sure, he looked really cool in the Disney movie. I'll give them that. The costume design.
I mean, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But
Sure. We'll say that Disney kind of got the look right. He didn't command zombie hordes, but whatever. He was known, although this is interesting though. He was known to charge into battle with 2 swords and several knives and pistols fastened to his waist and his vest. He was eventually hunted down by Lieutenant Robert Maynard and killed in battle after sustaining at least 5 gunshot wounds and 20 sword cuts.
Wow.
And legend says even after he was beheaded, his body that was thrown overboard swam around the ship 3 times before dying. Obviously fake, but that was a rumor that was spread about him after his death.
Fried chicken.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, exactly. I think that another part of how things got romanticized a little bit was that their own crews would kind of spread hype and exaggerated accounts, to keep the fear alive, because, it's way easier when a ship just gives up and doesn't fight you. So if you have a reputation, yeah. So.
Well, and I was gonna hyperbole is such an important part of that, like culture,
But that's like a historical account though, not him swimming around the ship 3 times. That's fake. I'm talking the 5 gunshot wounds and 20 sword cuts. That's like coming from the people that fought him, which maybe they were trying to hype him up as like, oh man, this was such a pain. Like, we finally got him, but this is what it took to do it. And maybe they were like trying to hype themselves up a little bit. So maybe it could have been exaggerated, but it seems pretty widely believed that that guy was just a tank and did not want to go down. So that's Blackbeard. So he's very famous for a reason. The next pirate, and that's like almost the whole other end of the spectrum as far as morality goes, Blackbeard was pretty rough. He also had, he was said to have had multiple wives, but the only one that is on legal record is a 16-year-old girl.
Yeek.
And there's even debates on whether or not she may have been even younger than that.
Ugh.
And so
Pirates, man.
he was not a good person. I feel like in a lot of fiction, whenever Blackbeard is mentioned, I feel like he's usually a villain character, and for good reason. Like in the Disney movie. So yeah. The next pirate is Henry Avery, who is also known as Long Ben. Started in the English Royal Navy and became a pirate captain by mutiny. So he led a mutiny on his ship, which resulted in him becoming the captain, and they took up a life of piracy. He is most well known for capturing an Indian treasure ship and was then able to retire as the wealthiest pirate in history, or at least one of them. And he retired to an unknown location, and his time of death is unknown. He actually got away.
Wow. He really did.
Yeah, he's the pirate that every pirate wants to be.
He knew when to quit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
He captured a ship just brimming with gold and jewels, and he retired and lived a life of luxury. Probably on some island somewhere. So.
Well, he's dead now.
Yeah. Probably. No, he's super dead.
Super dead.
Yeah, so that's interesting. He's a pirate that actually kind of succeeded in their goal. There's Anne Bonny, who's a female pirate who was Irish.
She's one of my favorites.
She's a really interesting historical character.
Yeah.
So lived in Ireland, had a father who I think was a lawyer or something, ended up marrying some well-to-do gentleman in Ireland, but she fell in love with a pirate captain named Calico Jack Rackham and joined his crew pretending to be a man. That's how she got on the ship. So basically the whole crew thought that she was a dude because, superstitious lot, sailors, bad luck to have a woman on board. Also, probably wouldn't really trust a woman to fight, although she
also
did.
Not the safest place for a woman, probably.
No, if they know you're a woman, I wouldn't want to be on a pirate ship.
No.
Judging by what we just learned about Blackbeard,
yeah,
uncomfy.
No, thank you.
But she had a relationship with the captain, Jack Rackham, and became a very formidable pirate in her own right. She eventually made friends with another pirate woman named Mary Read, and so the three of them were kind of a dynamic trio for a while. Eventually, their luck ran out. They were captured, and both Anne and Mary Read claimed to be pregnant while they were in prison, although Jack Rackham was executed. But Mary and Anne were spared execution. Unfortunately, Mary Read died in prison, but it is unknown exactly where Anne Bonny went after she was released. It's believed she may have returned back to Ireland, to where her dad was. But still, what a girl boss. That's
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, she's a very interesting character. There's a artist on YouTube, I think, Carolyn or Coraline, I forget her name. I'm gonna look it up really quick. Okay, so her username is, I think it's Carlienne. It is Karliene. And I believe she might actually be Irish or Scottish or something. But she has this really cool series of songs called The Legend of Anne Bonny. And it's a bunch of songs that kind of go through her life. And it's sung in like this way that's like a kind of Irish jig, kind of sea shanty type music. And it's really cool. So
that does sound really cool. I'll be honest. I thought you were talking about like fan art artists, like drawings.
No, sorry, vocal artist. She's
Yeah.
a musical individual. So if you're interested, check that out. Also, Anne Bonny and Jack Rackham feature in the TV show by Starz Black Sails, which is the show that is
Mary
the prequel
Read
to Treasure
also in
Island.
that?
No, she is not.
Okay.
The next pirate is Henry Morgan, which is Captain Morgan, which is where we
Yes,
get the rum from.
Yes.
His story is actually pretty hilarious. He was sanctioned by England to hunt down Spanish ships. This is Spain and England are at war at this time. He may have pillaged up to 400 ships.
Jeez.
In his career.
How is that even possible?
He may be one of the most successful pirates in just ship count of like ships that he pillaged. And he actually greatly disrupted Spain's influence in the Caribbean because of this, in the area that he was. He was arrested by England after he captured an entire city. I feel like they had a kind of strenuous relationship where England was like, we're cool with you, but you're on thin ice, so watch yourself. Like, you can keep hunting down these Spanish ships, okay, that's fine, but like, watch it. And then he went and captured the entirety of Panama City. And then England had to be like, okay, we can't affiliate with you anymore. We're gonna arrest you. So they arrested Henry Morgan. However, the war with Spain was still going on, and he was one of their most successful like ship hunters, and like he really helped them out in the war with Spain. So they arrested him, but he ended up getting knighted, and he ended up becoming the governor of Jamaica.
What? How did I not know this? That's hilarious.
Yeah, dude. And ironically, during his tenure as governor of Jamaica, they brought about like a lot of anti-piracy laws.
Sure, because he knew what was up.
Yeah. So his story is one of the most interesting, I think.
What a turnaround.
Uh-huh. There's Sir Francis Drake, who was another English pirate who is most famous. I think I read he was one of the first sailors to totally sail the Earth's circumference. Like he literally sailed all around the world. And he inspired the popular video game franchise Uncharted. Looking for the treasure of Sir Francis Drake is like one of the main plot points of the Uncharted series, or at least the first one or two. Hope has actually played them, so she could say more about that. But the next one is actually really interesting because this is both a woman and operated in the South China Sea. She was Chinese. So up until now, these have all been European folk, but there were actually pirates all around the globe. And this one, Qing Shi was her name. She was originally a prostitute, but she quit that and took up a life of piracy, eventually basically became what I wouldn't even call her a pirate. I would call her more of like a maritime warlord. Like she
Okay.
commanded over 1,500 ships
What?
and over 80,000 men.
What?
They had a strict code of conduct that they
Good
had to
for
adhere
them.
to, and it eventually got to the point, well, she would basically just sail around and offer protection to these coastal cities in exchange for taxation. She was basically a warlord. Like, she would just go around and threaten these people like, hey, give us money and we'll protect you. If you don't, we won't protect you. In fact, maybe a couple of the 1,500 ships that I command will show up and, you know, burn your village to the ground. So yeah, Qing Shi.
Wow. Wow. Now that's a
Eventually,
girl boss. No, that's a
yeah, yeah,
pirate king.
yeah. Uh-huh. Eventually, she was offered amnesty, complete and total amnesty by the Chinese government in exchange for peace, because she was, at that point, she was practically a foreign power.
Wow.
Like, that's insane.
That's crazy.
And she took the offer. All of the pirates that were in her crew got their cut of the peace deal, and some of them, like, I think some of them still became part of like the Chinese naval forces at that time in the South China Seas, but they were like still super loaded from, but they were given amnesty.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. But however, she retired with her lover, who was also like her, I think either stepson or adopted son that she eventually took up as a lover.
Oh
Yeah.
dear. Oh dear.
Not biological, but like,
Still. Oh dear.
okay.
Oof.
Um,
Pirates.
and
Pirates.
ended up running a casino and brothel for the rest of her
It
life
all comes back around, doesn't it?
for another 69 years.
Another. Oh, seriously?
Yep.
Wow.
Or maybe
Wow.
she lived for 69 years. I don't know. It was unclear, the article I read.
Another.
But either
That
way,
would make her super stinking old.
that's a great 69 years is still a great timeline for a pirate. You know?
A prostitute turned pirate
Yes.
turned
Uh-huh.
madam.
She's the most impressive on the list by far. Her and the last pirate I have on my list, although there are many more, his name is Edward Lowe. And this is when we get to the, we've had kind of the morally gray, we've had the kind of, the Captain Morgans, like the anti-heroes. This one is pretty despicable. So he's like as far to like the evil side of the alignment chart that you can get.
Okay. Like
Edward
chaotic
Lowe.
evil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Became a pirate after the death of his wife. His wife died in a miscarriage or a botched childbirth, something, and she died. 2 years later, he became a pirate. Usually captained a fleet of about 3 or 4 ships. He had a fairly short time frame of operation, but he captured and burned at least 100 ships. And he was known to be very cruel to his captives and tortured them brutally before killing them. Lots of disemboweling, decapitations, lots of very, very grotesque things. He once it was said by one of his crewmen that they were like some of the most feared pirates ever, and a lot of the people that were on the crews of the ships they were pursuing would beg their captains to just give up and not fight because they didn't want to be like they didn't want to incur any more torture or wrath upon themselves as was necessary.
Wow.
There was one time where it was like he captured a cook off of a ship that had kind of like greasy skin, and he joked that he would fry well. No, he was as despicable and just abominable as you could imagine a pirate being. Luckily, his career wasn't super long, but his fate is unknown. They don't know whether, well, he stopped doing what he was doing, so it's believed that the ship either was sunk in a storm at some point, or he just retired and laid low. But either way, his career wasn't super long, although it was a very brief and bloody time. There was a instance during a torturing session with one of his captives where the torturing session went wrong and one of his crew accidentally cut him on the face. And with it, there was like a botched surgery after that to fix it. But then after that, he just had like a gnarly scar on his face. So no, he was like he's like stereotypical evil pirate man. Like that's pretty much Edward Lowe. So
Wow.
So that's him on the totally other end of the spectrum. So that's what I've got for historical pirate figures. Very wide swath.
I like Captain Blood.
Yeah. Which is funny because like by the name you would think that he would have been more of like an Edward Lowe character, but no,
he's not.
No, he was a doctor. So yeah. So really, I think when it comes to piracy, if I had lived back then, I would hope to have been captured by someone like Captain Morgan or that Avery guy, the one that retired rich.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, it's interesting because some of these guys started off with really good intentions. They were privateers or they were in the Royal Navy, and then sometimes they had no choice. You know, their crew wanted them to do it, so they were kind of strong-armed into it. Sometimes there were some that I didn't include on my list, but some were captured by pirates, you know, when they were in the Navy and then just kind of got swept up in that lifestyle and couldn't get out. So it's like it's interesting. And I think I get why it's romanticized in modern media with the whole independence, freedom, individuality. Like I totally get it.
Why you can go anywhere, do anything.
Yeah. Got the open ocean. I can definitely see why people gravitate towards it. So, yeah.
Totally.
What do you think of all the... Who is your favorite historical pirate?
Oh, I still like Anne Bonny a lot.
Anne Bonny, yeah.
But I didn't know about the... What's her name again? Qing Shi?
I believe that's correct. Let me double check. Qing Shi, yep.
I hadn't heard of Qing Shi before, which is kind of crazy because she was very prolific and you would think that she would be talked about more. But I suppose in our Western
maybe she is more
world.
in like Eastern
yeah.
But yeah, here in the West it's kind of all about it's very Eurocentric. The pirates
well, I don't even know if I would say Eurocentric here as much as Caribbean centric here.
Yeah, no, I mean the pirates themselves though are like
right.
They're white dudes, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. But she sounds really interesting.
Yeah. I should look up and see if there's any kind of media or any kind of stories or books or anything with her.
It kind of... I wonder if the Pirates of the Caribbean movies were making a nod to her when Elizabeth Swann becomes the pirate king and she's like has all of the Chinese pirates and like the junks that she's commanding, which is kind of a disservice to that historical person too.
No, there was a female there was a Chinese woman on the pirate council in that movie.
So maybe it was her.
I think her name was Mistress Ching.
So maybe it was her.
I think maybe that was
her.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But what a bit of whitewashing to give her pirate king title to Keira.
I feel like Sao Feng should have been Mistress Ching. They should have given her like a really big, awesome role.
But totally. Maybe in Pirates 6 or whatever.
Yeah, like 1500. See, that would have been epic, is if all the East India Trading Company ships at the end of the third one duked it out with like the 1500 ships that Qing Shi had. Like, just epic battle.
Oh, man. That would have been so much better.
Yeah. But, you know, and we didn't really touch on like Davy Jones or anything. Like, that's just kind of a
that's more lore, right?
Yes, sailor folklore. He's just kind of the Satan of the sea, you know, like he's the devil of the ocean. But anyway, yeah. So that's piracy and where it kind of stands now in media and its origins, how it was romanticized. I think, going into it, I was expecting way more. I mean, there was some very bad things that pirates did, obviously. Like, I can't really stand for their methods, even if some of them, like, I can kind of understand the anti-establishment sentiment for some and wanting to disrupt the colonization and the,
The status quo.
the plundering, because it's, I saw a lot of people arguing on forums online and stuff. It's like, everyone at that time was a plunderer. If you were in the British Empire, you were plundering the New World, from the indigenous people. And so it was just thieves stealing from thieves, And so
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, okay, I can kind of see where you can arrive to that conclusion. Although, if you're Edward Lowe, I hope you get hunted down.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be that kind of pirate, that's like, the rebel, stick it to the man kind of pirate. That's like, okay, that's pretty cool. I'm still
But the murderer gonna kill you for no reason and disavow you for no reason.
The murdering and the, like, if we're gonna capture ships and like offer the crew a chance to join us and stuff, that's cool. If they don't want to join us, just let them off at a port. That's fine. But where I can't get down with the murdering and the crimes against women that likely happened. So
That's
there's
good. I'm
there's
glad
a lot
you were
of
opposed to that.
well, yeah.
Same,
Yeah.
obviously.
So there's a lot of things about that probably went into being a pirate that I wouldn't be able to support. But there were a couple in the list that were like, oh, okay, yeah,
The Robin Hood nature of it,
yeah,
is
that's
appealing. But
it's like Robin Hood, but set slightly later, where there's like cannons and stuff.
and maybe more morally.
Yeah, they weren't so
not
much
necessarily
giving,
ambiguous.
yeah,
Morally corrupt.
yeah. They weren't really stealing from the rich to give to the poor. They were stealing from the rich to spite the rich,
To give
and
to
keep
themselves.
it for themselves. So, like, yeah, a little different, but it's still entertaining either way. So,
Oh, for sure.
so
Especially now for people that are landlocked and don't ever have to actually worry about pirates beyond stolen music.
Right. I don't ever plan to go to Somalia, so I'm not gonna. I don't have to worry about a dude on a speedboat coming up to my ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our discussion on pirates.
Yeah.
Let us know if there's anything that you would have added to this, or if there are any historical pirates you would have liked to have been mentioned.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a part 2.
Yeah, that's kind of an open invitation for you, Dad. So if you're listening,
I'm sure he is.
feel free to correct anything too. This was just from an afternoon of Googling, so yeah. And I'm kind of interested to own those books though that came up in the beginning there. Those books that I mentioned that were published. I'm kind of interested.
The old ones.
Yeah. I'm kind of
if they're
interested
still.
I'm sure there's copies you can
print.
get.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm sure. Those are old books, man.
Yeah.
But it's worth researching.
Yeah. Not obviously reprints.
Well, no, I know, but even reprints, like they stop reprinting stuff eventually.
Yeah.
We talked about that with the Dr. Seuss banned books stuff. But,
So yeah. Anyway.
before we end, have you picked our book for the next read along? Because we're almost done with Dragons of Autumn Twilight.
Oh, I was under the impression that we were gonna announce that when we did the next read along. Do you want to announce it now?
Well, I mean, it could be in both. What if someone that doesn't listen to the read along listens to this?
That's right. You are right. So, okay. I do know what book it's going to be, but it's none of the ones that we discussed.
That's really funny. Okay.
And now I believe I know the title, but I'll double check after just to make sure. Since we're coming up on spooky season, it's going to be Halloween soon, and especially by the time we get done with Dragons of Autumn Twilight, it'll be Halloween-ish.
We'll end up reading this through Christmas, I'm sure. But yes. When we started, it will be Halloween season.
Yeah, so we'll be...
What are you picking?
Yeah.
What are you going to make me read through Christmas?
It is the first book in the first Law trilogy. It is called The Blade Itself. It is a grimdark fantasy book.
I've never heard of this. Do you know the author's name?
I did.
Okay, say the title again. So I'm going to write it down.
The Blade Itself. It is the first book in what did I say? The First Law trilogy.
Okay, interesting.
There are some, because you know how Game of Thrones is pretty grimdark, or Song of Ice and Fire. There are some people...
I don't know. Yeah, okay.
Who think that this series executed being a grimdark series better than A Song of Ice and Fire did. So...
Wow.
I mean, those are people that are probably biased, that have read, And also with, Game of Thrones, it's hard to have, like, that long of a series and have every book be, like, a smash hit. But this one only has 3.
I don't know if I would... I don't know that I would classify Game of Thrones as a grimdark fantasy. It's very gritty, but...
I think some do, and that's... The people that do classify it as that have said that the First Law trilogy does a better job of it. So,
okay.
Anyway.
I would say that the ambiguity around Game of Thrones probably supports that.
Anyway.
It seems more political intrigue to me, but I guess there is the whole bit with the Nightwalkers. I don't know.
There's zombies.
There are zombies.
So
there are zombies in this book. Are you going to make me read a zombie book?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I know like nothing about the plot, just that that's pretty highly recommended. I don't even remember the author's name, but it'll be
in the video description and the podcast description.
Yeah. So check it out if you're planning on reading along with us. I don't know what to expect other than it's a really good grimdark book. So that'll be fun to read during Halloween time.
Wonderful. I'm gonna have to pick something like kind of light for us when it's my turn again.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
I don't want to. No. It's good. It's good. I just want to make sure that we're like not always reading these like really gritty.
Dragons of Autumn Twilight isn't super heavy. Like it's not dark. It has. No. I mean, fantasy has dark elements.
Yeah.
But it's not. That's not like its purpose.
No, not at all. But awesome, I'm excited.
It's gonna be Halloween, so we're gonna read Stephen King's It.
I kind of thought maybe you were gonna go with Stephen King's fantasy book.
No.
But I'm very appreciative of you reading it to me.
Although that probably would have been a shorter book, but anyway. Yeah, so that's the book that we're gonna go with. So
I'll get it ordered.
Cool. Until then, y'all go read something cool.
And we'll talk at you next time.
Later.
Bye.